This video has the power to transform your life and guide you toward true freedom in your everyday existence. I will explain, in a simple and meaningful way, the profound Buddhist concepts of the deception of perception, the trap of proliferation, the stages of enlightenment as mental deconstruction, the role of a noble friend, knowledge versus realization. The ultimate state, Nirvana. 1. The deception of perception. Perception is not a reflection of the present. It is a projection of past data onto the current moment. It uses molds, or labels, to trick us into seeing things as permanent, attractive, or as solid entities, like a flower or a person, instead of changing energy flows. Once a label like enemy is attached to a person, we no longer see the actual person, only the value of the label. To help you visualize this, imagine your mind is like a projector that is constantly playing old film over a live camera feed. You think you are looking at what is happening now, but you are actually seeing a blend of the past. Here is a real-world scenario to explain those 3 points. The scenario, the mean boss. Imagine you have a manager, Sarah. 3 years ago, Sarah gave you a very harsh performance review. Since that day, your mind has created a mold or a label for her, called the harsh critic. 1. Projection of past data, the time warp. Today, you walk into the office and see Sarah walking towards you. She isn't saying anything. She's just walking. The reality, a human being is walking down a hallway. The deception, your heart rate spikes. Your mind projects the data from 3 years ago onto this moment. You aren't seeing Sarah as she is now. Maybe she's tired. Maybe she's happy. You are seeing the Sarah from that bad review. You are reacting to a memory, not the present person. 2. Using molds to see solid entities. Your mind likes efficiency, so it molds Sarah into a solid, permanent character. The reality, Sarah is a changing energy flow. Her cells are dying and regenerating. Her moods shift every hour, and her thoughts are constantly moving. She is a process, not a statue. The deception, your perception, tricks you into thinking Sarah is a permanent, solid, mean person. By labeling her, you ignore the fact that she is a complex, changing human. You've frozen her in time with a label. 3. The value of the label. The filter. Because the label enemy, or harsh critic, is now stuck to her, your brain filters out any data that doesn't fit that label. The scenario. Sarah notices you look stressed and leaves a cup of coffee on your desk without saying a word. The deception. Instead of seeing a kind gesture, you think, what is she up to? Is she trying to make me feel guilty so she can give me more work? The result. You no longer see the actual person or the actual action. You only see the value of the label. The enemy label is so thick that even a kind act looks like a threat. In short, perception acts like a filter on a camera lens. If the filter is blue, the whole world looks blue. If the filter is enemy, every movement that person makes looks like an attack. Understanding this, as a Sotapanna would, means realizing the enemy isn't in the hallway. The enemy is a label my own mind projected onto a changing human being. 2. The trap of proliferation. After perception labels something, thought pulls that data into the mind, and proliferation expands it into a massive story. This proliferation creates the illusion of time, past and future, and duality, me versus the world, making us slaves to our thoughts rather than their masters. This is a perfect example of how the mind turns a tiny spark into a massive wildfire. To understand proliferation, imagine your mind is like a movie studio that takes a single actor, a thought, and builds an entire multi-season drama series around them. Here is a real-world scenario to make it clear. The scenario, the unread message. Imagine you send a friendly WhatsApp message to a close friend. You see the 2 blue ticks, read receipt, but 1 hour passes and they haven't replied. 1. The spark. Pulling data into the mind, perception labels the situation. Seen, but no reply. Thought pulls this into the center of your attention. You stop looking at your work and start looking at the phone. Your mind grabs the data. 2. The expansion. Creating the massive story. This is where the proliferation starts. Your mind doesn't stay with the fact, the unread message. It begins to build a mountain. Did I say something wrong in my last message? Maybe they are still mad about that joke I made last week. Actually, they've been acting distant lately. I bet they don't value this friendship anymore. The massive story. You conclude that you are going to lose this friend. You reflect on how everyone eventually leaves you, and you start feeling lonely and angry. 3. The illusion of time and duality. Time. Notice how you are no longer in the present moment, sitting at your desk. You are in the past. remembering old jokes, and the future, imagining a lonely life without the friend. Duality, me versus the world. You create a solid me, the victim slash the ignored one, and a solid them, the person ignoring me. You feel a separation, becoming a slave. By now, your mood is ruined. You might even decide to ignore them back to protect your ego. You aren't choosing this reaction. The story is driving you. The mental shift, the master versus the slave. The slave, the proliferating mind, believes the story, sits in anxiety for hours, fueled by what if, and they must be. The master, the mind that understands proliferation, notices the thoughts, sees the mind starting to build a story and says, look at that. My mind is taking no reply and trying to write a tragedy. The reality is just no reply. Maybe they are driving. Maybe they are busy. The result, the story stops before it becomes a massive drama. You return to the present moment, and the illusion of time vanishes. You stay at peace because you refuse to let a single label turn into a proliferation. 3 stages of enlightenment as mental deconstruction. 1. Sotapanna, stream winner, recognizes the fake nature of perception. They see that there is no solid I at the moment of sensory contact. 2. Sakadagami, once returner, escapes the mirage of time. By seeing that the past is just a memory and the future is a projection, they weaken greed and hatred. 3. Enagami, non-returner, stops the invasion of proliferation. They are no longer fooled by the mind's ability to build complex emotional worlds. This is the most technical part of the teaching, because it shows the progress of how a mind gradually deconstructs the world it has built. To understand this, imagine your mind is like a movie theater. Here is a real-world scenario to explain these stages of waking up. The scenario, the job promotion denial. Imagine you applied for a promotion you really wanted, but you just found out someone else got it. 1. Sotapanna, the reality checker. The normal reaction. You feel a stab in your heart and think, I am a failure. I have been insulted. You feel like a solid me was attacked. The Sotapanna shift. They recognize the fake nature of perception. In that moment of pain, they realize, wait, there is a feeling of disappointment. And there is a thought of, I am a failure. But there is no solid I here, just a set of data, sight, sound, thought, clashing together. The realization, they see the I is just a label being projected onto a temporary feeling. The I isn't real. It's just a mental trick. 2. The Sakadagami, the time traveler who stayed home. Normal reaction. They escape the mirage of time. They see that the 5 years of hard work is just a memory happening now, and the failure in the future is just an imagination happening now. The realization, by staying in the present moment, greed and hatred lose their fuel. They think, the past is gone, the future isn't here. Right now, there is just the breath and this moment. Their anger and desire become much weaker because they don't feed the time mirage. 3. Anagami, the master of the studio. The normal reaction. Your mind begins the invasion of proliferation. Papanka. It builds a complex emotional world. My boss hates me. My coworkers are laughing at me. My family will be disappointed in me. You live inside this world of drama for weeks. The Anagami shift. They stop the invasion. They are no longer fooled by the mind's ability to build these emotional worlds. The realization. When the mind starts to build a story like, they are all laughing at me, the Anagami sees it as a harmless bubble that pops. They stay at peace. They see that the world of failure isn't a place they live in. It's just a temporary mental movie. 4. The role of a noble friend, Kalyanamitta. A true spiritual friend is not someone who merely comforts you, but someone who acts like a mirror or a surgeon to challenge your ego. They help you see the stains on your mind that you cannot see yourself. To understand the role of a Kalyanamitta, you have to realize that the human ego is like a blind spot in a car's side mirror. No matter how hard you look, there are parts of your own behavior you simply cannot see, because your mind is designed to protect your self-image. Here is a real-world scenario to illustrate this. The scenario, the toxic work dispute. Imagine you are in a heated conflict with a coworker. You are convinced that you are the hardworking victim, and they are lazy and disrespectful. You go to 2 different friends to talk about it. 1. The comforting friend, not a Kalyanamitta. The interaction. You vent for an hour. This friend says, you're totally right. They are so unprofessional. You're the best worker there. They're just jealous. The result. You feel better temporarily. Your ego is fed. However, you go back to work the next day with the same anger, and the conflict continues. This friend has comforted the cancer instead of removing it. 2. The noble friend, the mirror/surgeon. The interaction, this friend listens, but then asks a difficult question. I hear your frustration, but did you notice that you interrupted them 3 times in that meeting? Is it possible your tone made them defensive? The surgeon aspect. This feels like a cut. It hurts your pride, ego. Like a surgeon, they are causing a small amount of pain to remove a much larger problem. The mirror aspect. You cannot see your own tone or your own interruptions. The stains. The noble friend holds up a mirror so you can see the reality of your own actions that your mind was hiding from you. The mental shift. Before. You see the problem as outside, the coworker. You stay trapped in a cycle of blame because you are blind to your own contribution. After, with a kalyana mitta, you see the problem as inside, your ego reaction. The benefit. Once the noble friend helps you see your own stain, you actually have the power to change the situation. You stop being a victim of the scenario and start becoming a master of your own mind. A kalyana mitta isn't there to make you feel good. They are there to help you be good by showing you the truth you are hiding from yourself. 5. Knowledge and realization. Knowledge versus realization. Merely listening to Dhamma is like looking at a map. To reach the destination, one must actually walk the path by investigating their own mind. Enlightenment is not something new to be created. It is the reality that is revealed once the ego concept that covers it is dissolved. The scenario, learning to swim via a book. Imagine a person who wants to learn how to swim. They spend an entire year at the library. They read about buoyancy, the physics of the water, the exact angle the hand should enter the pool, and the biology of breathing techniques. 1. Knowledge. The map. The state of mind. This person can give a 2-hour lecture on swimming. They have a map of the swimming pool in their head. The reality. The moment they are pushed into a lake, they panic and sink. Why? Because their body doesn't know what their head knows. The Dhamma, the swimming instructions, is just a set of labels in their memory. They have the information, but they haven't walked the path. 2. Realization. Walking the path. The action. This is the moment the person stops reading and jumps into the water. The experience. When they feel the water's coldness and the sensation of floating, they aren't thinking about buoyancy anymore. They are experiencing it. This is investigating the mind. You stop looking at the map and start feeling the ground beneath your feet. 3. Enlightenment. Revealing what was always there. The illusion. While standing on the shore, the person was terrified of drowning. They felt heavy and solid. This fear and the feeling of being a non-swimmer is the ego concept. The reveal. Once they relax into the water, they realize that the water was already holding them up. They didn't create buoyancy. Buoyancy was a law of nature that existed long before they got in. The reality. By letting go of the stiffness and fear, the ego, the natural ability to float is revealed. Enlightenment is simply the moment you stop fighting the water and realize you were always capable of floating. You just had to stop grabbing onto the shore. The mental shift. Before, you think you need to gain something or become a holy person. You collect facts like trophies. This is like collecting maps but never leaving your house. After, you realize you don't need to add anything new to your mind. You just need to dissolve the layers of me, mine, and my story that are blocking the peace that is already there. 5. The ultimate state, Nirvana. Described using the metaphor of a river joining the ocean. Once the banks, the ego/limits are broken, the river becomes the ocean, and you can no longer find the river water separately. It is a state of absolute freedom and silence where nothing needs to be held onto or achieved. This is the most profound part of the teaching, describing the final destination where all mental struggle stops. To explain this profound shift using a Zen-style story, let's look at the tale of the salt doll. The story, the salt doll and the great sea. Once, there was a doll made of salt. She had spent her entire life wandering the dry, dusty inland plains. She had a very clear sense of herself. She knew her shape, her height, and her hardness. She called herself the Traveler. One day, she reached the edge of the land and saw something she had never seen before. The vast, shimmering great sea. The riverbanks. The ego. The salt doll stood on the shore, terrified. She looked at her solid limbs and thought, if I go out there, I will lose my shape. I will lose my name. I will disappear. These thoughts were her banks, the limits that kept her feeling like a separate small individual. She wanted the peace of the sea, but she wanted to keep being a doll, the breaking of limits, the dissolution. Finally, The urge to know the truth became stronger than her fear. She took a step into the water. As the first wave touched her feet, she cried out in surprise, "I am starting to lose myself." But as the water rose to her waist, she noticed something strange. She wasn't vanishing into nothingness. She was expanding. The hardness that caused her pain on the dry land was softening. The ocean, Nirvana. Finally, a great wave swept over her. In that final moment, as the last grain of salt dissolved into the water, the doll didn't think, "I am dying." Instead, her last realization was, "I am the sea." Applying the idea to your text, the river water is gone. Just as you can no longer find the specific salt of the doll once it has dissolved, in Nirvana, you can no longer find the ego or the separate self. The salt is still there, but it is no longer a doll. It is the vastness itself. Absolute freedom. When she was a doll, she had to worry about breaking, about getting wet, or about staying upright. Now that she is the sea, there is nothing to hold on to. The sea cannot be broken. It has no shape to protect. Silence and no achievement. The doll was always trying to get somewhere, but the sea is already everywhere. There is no more achieving because there is no distance left to travel. The Zen lesson. We spend our lives trying to make the salt doll stronger and better. Nirvana is realizing that you were never the doll. You were always the ocean, just temporarily trapped in a salty shape. When the shape dissolves, the struggle ends.